बस पन्ना पलटने को ही है, और पन्ना तभी पूरी तरह पलटेगा जब हिंदुस्तान का हर मुसलमान, हिंदुस्तान का हर व्यक्ति इसमें शामिल होगा।
You have to be persistent, you have to be clear, you have to be patient.
पिछले 50-60 साल में जहाँ तक हम आके पहुँचे हैं, उसका आधा हम अगले 3 साल में ऐड करेंगे।
And I wouldn't be surprised at all if in 50 or in 60 years' time, half of the world's GDP will again be produced by China and India.
मेरी अपनी ज़िंदगी 18-19 साल स्टॉक मार्केट में निकली है, और उस पस मंज़र में जो देखा है कि मुसलमानों का ना के बराबर जो रोल है इस फील्ड के अंदर, कुछ लोग समझते हैं कि हराम है या ये कोई सट्टा बाज़ार है, क्या है। उलमा ने इस पर काफ़ी मेहनत की है सालों से, तो उसकी रोशनी में हमने चाहा कि कम से कम एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम हो कि जिसमें लोग आएँ, कुछ बातें हो, एक डिबेट शुरू हो। इसलिए कि हम लोग जो कह रहे हैं इस वक्त ये लफ्ज़ आखिर नहीं है, हो सकता है कि इसमें बहुत कुछ चेंजेस हो सकते हैं। तो गोया एक चीज़ सामने आए, उसकी वजह से हमने ये प्रोग्राम आज इसका आगाज़ हमने किया है। और सबसे पहले मैं कुरान पाक की तिलावत से इंशाअल्लाह प्रोग्राम को शुरू करने के लिए मैं मोहम्मद इस्माइल साहब को बुलाऊंगा, वो आकर कुरान पाक की तिलावत करें।
Assalamu alaikum. I am Muhammad Ismail, first year student of MMERC. Now I am going to recite 3 verses from the glorious Quran from chapter Surah Al-Jumu'ah, chapter number 62, verse number 9, 10 and 11. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع.
अब मैं महेश भट्ट साहब को हवाले करूँगा। ये प्रोग्राम पूरा। महेश भट्ट साहब इसलिए कि हमारे साथ शुरू से भट्ट साहब का बहुत ही ताल्लुक़ रहा है, और जब गुजरात के जो हादसे हुए थे जिसमें जो हालात आए थे जब, उस वक्त हमारे साथ पूरी ताकत के साथ भट्ट साहब रहे, हमें एंडोर्स किया और हर कदम पर हमारी मदद की। बल्कि मैं आपको बताऊं कि भट्ट साहब इस प्रोग्राम के लिए ख़ास कल इटाली से वापस आए, हालांकि उनका प्रोग्राम नहीं था, लेकिन ख़ास सिर्फ हाज़िर होने के लिए हम लोग परेशान हो गए। लेकिन मुझे भट्ट साहब ने इटाली के पता नहीं किसी एक पहाड़ में से कहीं से ईमेल भेजा, टेक्स्ट भेजा, घबराओ मत मैं आ रहा हूँ बिल्कुल। और मैं सिर्फ इसलिए ये आए हैं यहाँ इतना लंबा सफ़र करके, आप जानते हैं उनकी मसरूफ़ियत, लेकिन जो हमें ऊपर लाने में, खड़ा करने में एक मॉरल सपोर्ट जो भट्ट साहब ने दिया है हमको, हम उसका कोई लफ्ज़ों में बयान नहीं कर सकते।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। ज़फ़र भाई, जश्न आपका हो और हम शरीक ना हो, ऐसा तो हो नहीं सकता। दर्द मुसलमानों का हो और मैं शरीक ना हो नहीं सकता। ये लम्हा वाकई एक पाक लम्हा, एक ऐसी घड़ी है जहाँ पर लगता है कि बस सूरज निकलने को ही है। आपकी जीत इस कौम की जीत है, हिंदुस्तान की जीत है, दुनिया की जीत है। मैं झुककर उवैस भाई, तलहा और ज़फ़र भाई आपको सलाम करता हूँ, क्योंकि मैंने आपको देखा है। तलहा के साथ जब वो दर्दनाक दिन के बारे में सोचता हूँ जहाँ पर हम गुजरात की सड़कों पर घूमकर अहमदाबाद में घूमते थे और ये सोचते थे कल पता नहीं क्या लाएगा, तो मेरी रूह थर्रा जाती। मगर आज देखता है कि एक भयानक सपना था जैसे टूट गया। वो सपने तभी टूटते हैं जब आप अपनी जिम्मेदारियों को समझते हैं और खुद कुछ करके अपनी असलियत से जूझ कर उसको बदलते हैं। अंधेरों को कोसने से कुछ नहीं होता, अंधेरों में दिया जलाना ही पड़ता है। आपने दिया जलाया है, यकीन है कि इसकी रोशनी बहुत दूर तक जाएगी। मुझे याद है कि गुजरात के दंगों के दौरान एक बहुत ही सीनियर गांधीयन ने मुझसे एक बात कही थी। जब मैंने अपने सर पे हाथ रखकर कहा था क्या होगा इस मुल्क का, तो उसने पीछे मेरे कंधे पे हाथ रखा था, बोला बेटा जो करोगे वही होगा, जो नहीं करोगे नहीं होगा। आपने बहुत कुछ किया, इसकी वजह से आज हम यहाँ खड़े हैं। और देखिए, अजीब सा एक अजूबा है, एक मिरेकल है, एक चमत्कार है कि देखिए मंच पे कितने लोग हैं, अजीब अजीब लोग कहाँ से आए हैं इस जश्न में शामिल होने के लिए। ईमान आपके अंदर होता है तो मंजिल आपको यकीनन मिलेगी ही। और इस कौम की खासियत यह है कि हमारे, अगर हम हिस्ट्री को पढ़ें तो रसूल अल्लाह की समझ जो फाइनेंस को लेके थी तो उसका तो लाजवाब थी। ही वॉज कॉल्ड अ फाइनेंशियल विज़र्ड। अजीब ट्रेजेडी है कि जिस कौम के बड़ों ने फाइनेंस को इतनी ब्रिलियंटली हैंडल किया, वो पैसे की अहमियत या पैसे को हैंडल करना समझती ही नहीं। ये कहीं पर चूक हमसे हो गई है। मुझे खुशी इस बात की है कि कहीं पर आपने ये भी इरादा कल कम्युनिकेट किया जब मैं आपकी फ़िल्म को एंकर कर रहा था कि कहीं पर पारसोली सारे हिंदुस्तान में, ख़ास करके उन इलाकों में जहाँ पर मुसलमानों की तादाद ज़्यादा है, वहाँ जाकर सेमिनार्स कर मुसलमानों में ये समझ पहुँचाने की कोशिश करेंगे, या बैठ के डिबेट के ज़रिए बात पहुँचाने की कोशिश करेंगे कि पैसे को कैसे हैंडल करना चाहिए और वो शरिया के लॉ के दायरे में रहते हुए कैसे अपने फ्यूचर को बदलना चाहिए। जब आज दोपहर में जब सच्चर कमेटी की बहुत बड़ी रैली होगी तो यकीनन हम इस बात को वहाँ पर दोहराएंगे कि पारसोली भी एक असलियत है। एक अंधेरे बादल में कहीं पर एक सिल्वर लाइनिंग है पारसोली, और यही उम्मीद है जिसको हमें पकड़ कर रखना चाहिए, क्योंकि इसी के ज़रिए हम आने वाले कल से जूझ पाएंगे। तो इसके साथ हम एक शुरुआत करते हैं, और मंच पे बड़े बड़े लोग हैं जो आपको यहाँ क्या हो रहा है, क्या होने को है, मैंने तो कभी अपने बैंक स्टेटमेंट को नहीं पढ़ा, क्योंकि मेरे फाइनेंशियल मैटर्स को मेरे भाई साहब हैंडल करते हैं, बड़ी मुश्किल से अपने दस्तखत कर देता हूँ। बाकी जो इसकी जो स्मॉलर सटल नुआंसेस हैं, ये बड़े बड़े जो यहाँ पर स्पीकर्स हैं वो समझाएंगे। मगर एक ऐसी घड़ी है कि जहाँ से लगता है कि बस पन्ना पलटने को ही है, और पन्ना तभी पूरी तरह पलटेगा जब हिंदुस्तान का हर मुसलमान, हिंदुस्तान का हर व्यक्ति इसमें शामिल हो। शुक्रिया।
अस्सलामु अलैकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। अहमदुहु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम, अम्मा बाद, फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम, बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। क़ुल हल यस्तवी अल्लज़ीना यअलमूना वल्लज़ीना ला यअलमून, इन्नमा यतज़क्करु उलुल अलबाब। सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम। Honorable President of the day, respected dignitaries residing on the dais, and ladies and gentlemen. Markazul Ma'arif is one of the largest NGOs in Northeast India. The organization is a long cherished dream and a vision of Maulana Badruddin Ajmal, a great politician and an excellent human being. This organization was established in 1982 in a small town of Assam to serve humanity irrespective of caste, color or creed. During 20th century, numerous technological inventions and developments like telephone, fax, electronic mail, internet have facilitated communication between the people who come from all walks of life. And the language that is used most is English. That's why this most spoken language, most common language is referred to as lingua franca of the world. And if you don't know English, you cannot communicate with the people who come from different cultural backgrounds. Feeling the need of time and taking a most requisite step, Maulana Badruddin Ajmal Ali Al-Qasimi made a history. He almost wrote a new chapter in the history of Indian Muslims. He has taken a step towards establishing such organization, such institution that equates ulama with modern tools of communication, and English being priority among all of them. Markazul Ma'arif Education and Research Center thus came into existence in 1994 in New Delhi and introduced a 2-year intensive course of English language and literature for ulama who come afresh after the completion of their graduation from Madaris. Ulama are not enrolled in the course until they clear the entrance exam. Once they clear that entrance exam, they are enrolled in the course for 2 years. And during this duration of 2 years, they are acquainted with every necessity equipment of skillful communication, reading, writing, speaking English. After they finish the first phase of their course, they advance to the second one, that is training and research. In the second phase, they get training and then they are guided to write on various sensitive issues on Islam and Muslims with a modern context. Many topics, alhamdulillah, have been written about. I would like to name some of them before you, like contribution of ulama in India's independence, madrasa education, its strength and weakness, Women and Islamic Panel Code, Islam and human rights, and yes, the topic of today, modern economy in the light of Quran and Sunnah. Markazul Ma'arif Education and Research Center has published Eastern Christian and English Monthly. That is another step taken by the institution in the field of contemporary media. And finally, before I conclude my speech, I would like to say that I feel no hesitation to attribute the full credit of all what I have mentioned to the Ajmal family. The Ajmal family, Haji Ajmal Sahab's all sons, all noble and able sons, have contributed a great deal for the cause of the community and the nation at large. I personally offer them my heartfelt gratitude, proclaiming the Quranic ayah, Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra al-muhsinin, and Allah does not lose the wages of the good. This is a brief introduction of the activities carried out by Markazul Ma'arif. Thanks. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
ये मरकज़ुल मारूफ का एक नमूना आपने देखा कि माशाल्लाह कभी ज़िंदगी में अंग्रेज़ी पढ़ी नहीं थी, कभी सीखी नहीं। मदरसे की तालीम के बाद जो कोर्स चलाते हैं मरकज़ वाले, उसमें ये उलमाओं को अंग्रेज़ी बोलना, पढ़ना, लिखना सिखाते हैं। तो माशाल्लाह ये एक इनकी कोशिश जो हमारे सामने हमने देखी। अब मैं विलियम क्लेन साहब जो हमारे यूएस एम्बेसी के पॉलिटिकल और इकोनॉमिक अफेयर्स के काउंसिलर हैं, और एक बात इनकी जो आमतौर से लोगों को नहीं पता कि वो फॉरेन सर्विसेज में आने से पहले वो इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर रह चुके हैं। 16 साल वो दुनिया की एक बहुत बड़ी इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक में रहे, फ्रैंकफर्ट में। तो मैं उनसे इल्तिजा करूंगा कि वो हिंदुस्तान को क्या समझते हैं, आने वाले दिनों में उन्हें क्या लगता है कि हिंदुस्तान में क्या होगा, किस किस्म की तरक्की होगी, क्या रास्ते हैं, क्या रुकावटें हो सकती हैं। Mr. Klein, American perspective about the Indian economy, please.
Mr. Saraswala had asked me to share some observations with you on how America sees the Indian market. I'm a government official. I didn't understand exactly what Mr. Saraswala just told you, but I heard the words investment banker in Frankfurt. So I suspect that he told you something about my background, is that I did have a investment and banking background before I became a diplomat. Now I'm a diplomat, and we diplomats and we governments, we do not invest abroad. In the United States, it is American companies that make the decision to invest abroad. And perhaps I could share with you just some observations about how American companies are looking at India. And in particular, if we see what American companies are actually doing in India, I think that tells the whole story, right? Because money talks, and investors will only go where they have certain expectations. And that language, I think, of investing and in the markets will tell us mostly everything. If we look at the large macro overall picture of how American companies see India, I would say that they are very, very optimistic, very, very bullish in market terms. You have a country of 1.1 billion people. You have a true and vibrant democracy. Despite the problems that Mr. Bhatt mentioned with rule of law, this is a country where the rule of law ultimately prevails. You have an open and vibrant and transparent civil society. You have a very, very vibrant and independent media. You have a judiciary, and you have a very, very well-regulated market. All of that makes American investors very, very optimistic for your market and for your country. Also, the economic figures speak for themselves. So your country is currently growing at 8% a year. India is on a remarkable transformation of its society and its economy in this century. We see India emerging as one of the great powers of the 20th century, and I think all Americans believe that a strong and vibrant India is a force of good in the world. We acknowledge India's aspirations to become a global power, and we support these aspirations, and we want to be India's partner as India achieves these aspirations in this century. So where do American companies invest? Where does American money come into India? Investment can come in two forms. We can either in what's called foreign direct investment or in foreign institutional investment or portfolio investment. The first, foreign direct investment, is when a company comes here and an American company comes here and establishes a subsidiary in India, perhaps a so-called greenfield operation where an American car company, for example, like General Motors, will come here and establish a company and an assembly line. That can be an investment. A greenfield investment. An American company can come here and take a equity stake in a company that is not listed on the stock exchange. That would also be foreign direct investment. As opposed to that, there is foreign institutional investment, and these are investors who come and take equity stakes in your companies on the stock exchange. Where these can be individual Americans, or more often they are institutional investors, for example, American insurance companies, American pension funds who are saving money for their members. So if we examine these two forms of American investment into India, we can learn a lot about how American companies view the market. Let's go to foreign direct investment. The total sum of foreign direct investment from America into India up until about 2005 was about $8.5 billion. Yeah? $8.5 billion on the one hand does sound like a lot of money, but if you compare it to other countries in the world where American companies invest, it's very, very little. America is the largest source of foreign direct investment coming into India. And last year, I believe our companies invested about $300 to $400 million in Indian companies through foreign direct investment. Again, that's not very much. India gets about perhaps $8 to $9 billion of foreign direct investment a year. China gets up to $40 billion of foreign direct investment. Yeah? So we see that American companies are not coming in through the FDI route very aggressively. We see that American companies are going into China in a very substantial manner in FDI. What's the difference? American companies see that it is very, very complex to come into India and to invest. Generally, there is a rule of law. For the most part, your market is very, very open, and companies can't invest here. But companies have told us that they still see a lot of regulatory red tape. It's very, very difficult to establish large and complex investments here. There have been some legacy issues in the past where substantial American investments have faced all sorts of problems. Thankfully, this has been understood by your government, and your government has been making tremendous efforts to address this issue. If we look at portfolio investment, foreign institutional investment, then we see just the opposite picture. American companies, or American investors, are by far the largest portfolio investors in India. And they have invested heavily in your market, in your stock markets, over the last several years. I believe that American companies now invest on an average about $8 to $10 billion per year in your stock market. Although India gets far less foreign direct investment than China, India actually gets more foreign institutional investment than China. And the reason for that is that your capital markets here, the stock exchanges, the National Stock Exchange, the Bombay Stock Exchange, the others, these are very, very modern markets. They are very well regulated for emerging market standards. The corporate governance here in India is very good for emerging market standards, and you have the rule of law and you have the transparency. All of these issues make it very, very conducive for American companies to come in and to invest. Where do American companies invest in? American companies will generally invest in whatever chances are there. India has tremendous competitive advantages in IT. We see that American companies invest in office processing, so-called outsourcing. Yeah? But we also see that American companies are investing more and more in other sectors as well. American companies are going into automotive, spare parts, auxiliary parts, for example. Americans see here tremendous opportunities in India's pharmaceutical industry, for example. And we expect that over time, American investment will broaden throughout the Indian economy in line with the growth of your economy. What are the positive factors that American companies see when they come to India? First of all, the talents. As you know, and as we all know, you have a very, very young population. Yeah? Your urban population that does have access to good schooling is very, very well educated. India is a very, very open country where ideas come in and out of the country very good. So your business elite here is very, very globalized. Not only understands the best practices of the world economy, but actually is one of the trendsetters in the world economy today. India is not only learning from the world, but also the world is learning from India today, and we expect that to grow in the future as well. We also see the genius and the innovative capacities of your people and your society. We see it in little tiny things in everyday life. We see it in business models. For example, Mr. Saraswala's business model to bring the Indian capital markets to the people of the Islamic faith here in India. A very, very remarkable and brilliant business idea. And we see many examples of this throughout your economy. I mentioned the rule of law. Your court system is very, very good, and it is ultimately possible to get contracts enforced in Indian courts. Enforceability of contracts is a very, very important criteria that American investors and all investors around the world look at when they make a decision to invest in a market. Regulatory climate. I mentioned that your stock markets are very well regulated. Your banking system is also well regulated. India is a very vibrant, has a very vibrant commercial and business culture. We also see that because of the language, because of the English language, because of India's general openness to the outside world, because of the tremendous personal ties between our two societies, Americans find it very, very easy to do business here. Of course, there's all sorts of cultural nuances that we all have to deal with, and sometimes that we have to struggle with, but for the most part, our mindsets are remarkably close and remarkably compatible. Of course, there are negatives. What are some of these negatives? First and foremost, I mentioned the rule of law, and I said that contracts are enforceable. That is true, but as you know, sometimes if you go to court in your country, it can take a long time to get a contract enforced. The backlog in the court systems can make can detract investors. Yeah, smart investors try to avoid litigation nowadays as much as possible when they formulate contracts, but that's an issue. Again, it's understood. Another negative aspect that we all see in India, that we all experience every day, are infrastructure bottlenecks. Your economy is growing very, very rapidly, and but your physical infrastructure is simply not keeping up with the pace in the growth of the economy. Your Prime Minister went to New York in December of 2005 and said he needs $150 billion of foreign direct investment in infrastructure in the next 10 years. That's certainly true. We see, and we all see the bottlenecks in the road system, in ports. We see it at the airports. We see that demand for electrical power in your country is outstripping demand by 10 to 15 to 20%, depending upon where it is. So all of these bottlenecks do act as a brake on economic growth and on a further transformation of the society. The good news is that your policymakers and your government clearly understand that and are taking measures to address this issue now. That's the physical infrastructure. There's also so-called soft infrastructure. Yeah, if we look at India and we see in a country of 1.1 billion people, for example, that 20% of your gross domestic product is generated by agriculture. But we see that 60% of your population is still dependent upon agriculture for their livelihood. Yeah, in the film today, we heard about the income disparities between Muslims and non-Muslims here in India. Poverty, widespread poverty, and lack of opportunity for many hundreds of millions of Indians, of course, is a problem. But at the same time, all of these sectors open up tremendous opportunities for investors. If we look at the power sector, tremendous opportunities moving forward in the next several generations. Construction, port construction, airport construction, the entire infrastructure. I mentioned that the rule of law. Americans are very impressed by the rule of law here in India. However, there are examples where rule of law is not applied. That can be a disrupting factor for the attractiveness of a country or of a region for economic development. If we see on the basis of communal violence, such as in Gujarat in 2002, we read how the National Minority Commission, the National Human Rights Commission have said that those who are responsible for the genocide in Gujarat in 2002 have not yet been held accountable. Yeah, investors read this. Yeah, this is also a factor. Yeah, rule of law has to be applied equally and universally. Looking forward, we see, as I mentioned, tremendous opportunities in India. We see a tremendous growth path for your wonderful country. We see India emerging as I mentioned, one of the great powers of this century. And we are very, very honored to be part. We support India's aspirations as it moves on this path in this century. Thank you very much for your comments, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. It is my great pleasure to be among you, to share with you some of the basic issues and principles of investment. Coming from an academic institution, I feel it's very important to lay the foundation. There will be a lot of exciting information that will come through, but I hope that my presentation will put things in certain framework of thinking and of experience. My great thanks to Zafar Sareshwala for inviting us to come and be among you. Hopefully we can add value to your time among us. To start with, my presentation will be looking at different aspects of investment in terms of what is an investment and what type of investment that are available, the life cycle of an investor, and the mutual fund, which is indirect way of investing in the stock markets, and then the role of a portfolio manager with some concluding remarks. Investment, we define it as a commitment of fund for a period of time in which the return will compensate investors for the commitment of fund over a period of time, the threat of inflation which eats the purchasing power of investors, and the risk that investors are likely to face during their investment period. When we talk about investment, we always look at the return and we forget about the risk and the danger in investment. So investment is two faces there, or a coin that has two faces. One is, while we are very interested in returns, we have to keep in our mind the risk that is associated with different type of investment, and we'll look at different type of investment as we go on in the presentation. Risks, being one of the major issues for investors, can be characterized in many ways, one of which is business risk. Companies that are operating in one industry, for example, the steel industry or the cement industry or the technology industry, will face the same risk across the industry. Each country will respond to this risk in different ways, but nevertheless, every country or every company in this industry is likely to face the same type of risk. For example, commercial banks, when things are not doing well, the loan provision is likely to be a risk for all the companies that are listed in the banking industry. Then financial risk a company can face because of high debt, and that can be managed, and this is very specific to companies by company rather than in a group of companies. Liquidity risk for investors is to be able to sell when they have purchased the securities, and that's a very important one. Buying in companies that are not liquid are likely to face investors with certain risk of lack of liquidity, and that means they are likely to lose money when they want to sell. And then obviously if investors are looking at the international market, the exchange rate risk is an issue and a major issue in some investments. Here is just to show graphically the relationship between risk and return. And as investors are exposed to higher risk, they are always seeking higher return to compensate the risk. Otherwise, there will be no incentive for investors to go on an investment. So this is a relationship. It shows that the lower the risk that investors are exposed to, the lesser the return they will be accepting. And the higher the risk, the higher the return they would normally trade off. Talking about type of investment, we need to look at who are the investors. We look at two types of investors: individual investors who are operating their own funds in the market, and institutional investors that play a very important role. Institutional investors like Parsoli and commercial banks, investment banks, all types of institutions like insurance companies, pension funds, and mutual funds are all very important players. The life cycle of an investor over years, when somebody is young and starting their career with income quite low, they tend to behave differently from those who are in the middle age and those who are getting to the retirement age. So wealth normally is a function of time, and if you have the right education, if you have the right training, you are likely to increase your wealth over time. And here we look at three different phases of investment life cycle. One, at the early stage, investors are always concerned about accumulating wealth for the long term, for retirement, for school children, and for the short-term needs of housing and cars are essentials. So their behavior in investment tend to be a bit different from those who are in the middle age, and that can be characterized by a period of consolidation. In the middle age, income has improved and the wealth has obviously increased over time. And now the focus is to provide essential expenses for school children, but retirement is an issue always in mind of the investor. The third and last stage is when investors are getting to a point of retirement where they need to make sure that their income is able to sustain their living standard, if not at the same level, better. That's the objective. And that's why the mood of investors at the age of retirement tend to be quite different in a normal situation than those that are at the age of younger one. If you are an investor normally, you need to take few important steps in mind. One of which is you do not put all your money that is available in investment. You need to provide for some essential in life. Keep some saving and invest the rest that you do not need for a period of time. Then you need to set up your objective, why you wanted to invest and how long you want to invest. This objective can be quantitative, for example, to increase my income or to make the capital appreciation or to preserve my capital from inflation. That's a major threat to many investors. And it can be quantitative in terms of how much return do I seek on a yearly basis in terms of percentage or on an absolute number. Then after you set up your objective, you need to have a plan. And the plan will decide on how to allocate your resources between different industries. If you are only focusing on one asset class, like equities, investing between different industries as a way of diversifying your portfolio, or if you are investing in different regions or in different countries, that's the way to plan your investment in order to meet your objective that you have set up earlier. Then you need to look at what are the vehicles or what are the type of investment that are likely to be selected in order to meet your objective. And then you have to construct your portfolio. And after that, the process, which is very important, to keep monitoring your investment and making sure that your objectives are continuously met. Investment can be a wide scope in terms of what you're going to invest in. Are you thinking about investment in property or are you thinking about investment in securities? Securities can be divided into different types, as I will present to you later on. But that's one major distinction between investment, is to go between property, things that you have property ownership, the things that you can see and feel, and those that are mainly paper-based investment. Investment can either, as I said, be directly, you go and buy your stocks in the market and keep it under your name, or it can be indirectly through a mutual fund. And mutual funds are instruments that are extremely useful to small investors who do not have much experience in the market. You as an investor, obviously you can use the service of a professional fund manager to manage your portfolio. And there are some services that fund manager can do, and it will be very helpful for investors who are not very familiar with the market, or even those who are professional in the market. And finally, I would conclude by saying that investment in equity over the long period of time has been very rewarding to investors. The level of cost is generally not that high, and normally the trade-off between risk and return has been well balanced overall. And obviously investment directly is an option, but investment indirectly through small investors are much more appropriate, looking at mutual funds as an option. Generally saying that you have to be persistent, you have to be clear, you have to be patient when you are investing in the stock market. Hopefully you will be able to realize your objective. This is all I have for you. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू वेरी मच डॉक्टर हातिम। मैं थोड़ी माफ़ी भी चाहता हूँ कि असल में बोलने वाले ज़्यादा अंग्रेज़ी में ही हैं, लेकिन ये फील्ड ही कुछ ऐसी है कि हमने बहुत कोशिश की कि कोई उर्दू में बोलने वाले मिले हमें, लेकिन मिला ही नहीं। यानी ये भी एक ये जो इस कॉन्फ्रेंस करने के बाद बहुत सारी चीज़ें सामने आई। एक तो ये इन्वेस्टमेंट का पहलू है, लेकिन मैं हमारी बात करूँ कि हम लोग जगह जगह ऑफिसेस खोल रहे हैं, तो हम लोगों को फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज की कंपनी में जो लोगों की जो ज़रूरत है, हेड हंटिंग एजेंसीज को हमने सौंपा, तो मुसलमान बायो डेटा मिलना मुश्किल है, यानी इन्वेस्टमेंट से भी हम लोग दूर निकल गए तो पता ही नहीं चला कि ये फील्ड भी हमसे कितनी दूर हो गई। इसलिए कि हिंदुस्तान में इस वक्त जो तरक्की हो रही है ये सर्विस इंडस्ट्री में हो रही है, यानी जो जीडीपी की जो ग्रोथ है हमारी इस वक्त इस मुल्क की, उसमें सर्विस इंडस्ट्री का बहुत बड़ी दखल है उसमें। और ये फील्ड क्योंकि हम लोगों ने बचपन से एक पट्टी पड़ी थी कि भाई या तो डॉक्टर बनो इंजीनियर बनो, अगर कोई डॉक्टर नहीं बना या इंजीनियर नहीं बना तो शायद उसकी ज़िंदगी ख़त्म हो गई। लेकिन मसलन एक ब्रोकिंग कंपनी जो होती है, एक ब्रोकिंग कंपनी में एक बहुत बेसिक जो आदमी होता है वो डीलर होता है, यानी जो कंप्यूटर के टर्मिनल को संभालता है। उसकी कोई ज़्यादा क्वालिफिकेशन नहीं होती, हो सकता है कि अच्छा अंग्रेज़ी जानता हो, बीकॉम हो बहुत ज़्यादा, और कंप्यूटर सैवी हो, कंप्यूटर का नॉलेज हो, और उसके बाद स्टॉक एक्सचेंज उसका इम्तिहान लेती है जिसको NCFM कहते हैं। वो अगर इम्तिहान किसी ने पास कर लिया तो वो डीलर बन सकता है। बहुत सारे लोग जो इस फील्ड से माहिर हैं वो जानते हैं कि एक डीलर 2-3-4 साल का तजुर्बे वाला उसको 15-20 हज़ार की सैलरी आराम से मिलती है, लेकिन हमें मिलता ही नहीं है। तो ये भी एक चीज़ है जिसपे रोशनी डालें। तो माफ़ करना कि हमारे पास उर्दू बोलने वाले नहीं हैं। मैं हमारे ऊतो बादर साहब का तारुफ कराने के लिए महेश भट्ट साहब को मैं बुलाऊंगा।
मेरी समझ बैंकिंग के बारे में उतनी है जितनी आपकी समझ रॉकेट साइंस के बारे में। एक रात मुझे जफ़र भाई का फ़ोन आया कि उन्होंने कहा कि मुबारक हो भाई, हमारी लगता है कि तकदीर बदलने वाली है। तो मैंने कहा क्या हुआ? तो उन्होंने कहा कि एक बादर बैंक है, द बादर बैंक, उसके ओतो बादर साहब का मुझे कॉन्फर्मेशन आ गया कि वो हमारे साथ जुड़ने वाले हैं, 28.98% इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं। तो मैंने कहा कि भाई मुबारक हो, अगर आप इतने खुश हैं तो लगता है कि वाकई कुछ हुआ होगा, कुछ घटा होगा। फिर वो दिन आया कि जब हम बादर साहब से मिले ओबरॉय होटल में, एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस था जहाँ पर मेरी पहली मुलाकात इस शख्स से हुई। लंबा, गोरा, कुछ स्कूल टीचर या हेड मास्टर की तरह लगने वाला शख्स। कहीं पर हमारे जहन में थोड़ा सा कुछ इस्लामोफोबिया की वजह से वेस्ट के लोगों से थोड़ा सा हम कतराते थे, थोड़ा सा डरते थे, कुछ बिना वजह बेवजह कभी गुस्सा भी आ जाता था। मगर जब मैं इन शख्स से मिला तो कहीं पर इनकी बातें सुनी तो लगा कि कहीं पर एक अपनेपन का एक एहसास जगा। इतनी समझदार बातें और इतनी खुल के बातें करने वाला शख्स मुझे बहुत अरसे के बाद में नज़र आया। और फिर जब बोर्ड में हम इनके साथ में उठते बैठते रहे तो समझ में आया कि बहुत ही मेटिकुलस, बहुत ही समझदार और बहुत ही क्लियर माइंडेड शख्स है। और देखिए कहाँ से तकदीर आपका हाथ थामती है कि कहीं पर जर्मनी में एक शख्स ऐसा था जिसको ज़फ़र की ईमान पे यकीन आया। तो वो शेर याद आता है कि मैं तेरा कुछ भी नहीं हूँ मगर इतना तो बता, देख कर उसको तेरे जहन में आता क्या है। कहीं पर बादर साहब को, ज़फ़र साहब को देखकर कहीं पर एक यकीन हुआ कि ये शख्स है वो हमें कहीं नई सही दिशा में ले जाएगा। तो मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप इस शख्स का कुछ तालियों के साथ स्वागत करें। मिस्टर ओटो बादर, प्लीज कम ओवर।
Assalamu alaikum. I'm very happy to be back in India. And thank you very much, Mahesh, for what you said about me. I couldn't understand a word. So after you heard very fine and very good theoretical things about investing in the stock market and about the US-American official view about your country, I thought to myself, I want to give you some very, very personal remarks. First of all, because I do not know what Mahesh said about me, I just want to give you a brief introduction. My name is Utabada. I'm 63 years old. I have 2 children, 1 son and 1 daughter. And I was born 1944, just 1 year ahead of when the big war, the Second World War, ended. I grew up in the shambles and in the ruins of my country. And I grew up as a poor village boy in a rural village 100 kilometers away from the next big city. All what my parents did and what they ever wanted, they put it to me. They wanted to give me a very, very good education. And that's why all the money they got, they tried to save it for me and for my education. And whatever I am, I owe it to my father and to my mother in our village. And all the money at that time we had, this was around about 10,000 rupees. It was on my savings account. My uncle was away for holiday. I went to the bank and I said, I want to invest that money. I have found a wonderful company in the stock market. Please give me my money. I want to invest it into that company. And the clerk there said, come on, you're crazy. You, a 14-year-old boy, you should be able to do that. Yes, I said to him, I found a wonderful company. It's going up in the price, up every day. You should invest as well. In the end, he released the money and he invested himself with my advice. So I bought that stock. And the stock next day went up a little bit, and every day went up a little bit, and even a little bit more. But suddenly there was no quotation anymore in the newspaper. So I went to him and I said to him, come on, find out what's going on there in the stock market. He said, well, I don't know as well. I haven't seen any price again. Well, it was perhaps 1 week or 14 days later when I came home from playing soccer, very dirty, very exhausted. And they were sitting there in the parlor, my father, my mother, and my uncle. And they looked very straight to me. And then my uncle said, well, this young boy, 14 years old, he took the money in a company. He didn't take any advice at all. And now the company is illiquid. It's gone from the stock market. It isn't worth anything. He has lost all his money. You can imagine how ashamed I was and how I felt. Then afterwards, my father came to me, took me aside and said to me, well, son, it is a bad thing what happened. You took all away the money we saved for you, for your education, for your future, and you spoiled it. But anyway, this is one bad thing, but perhaps within this one bad thing, there is perhaps one good thing. This mistake should be a lesson to your future life. Never, ever buy any stock in the stock market. Well, I didn't listen to my father's advice because the company wasn't bankrupt. It just went into liquidation. And half a year later, I got my first payback from the liquidation rate. And it was already half of my investment. Next half year, I received another half of my investment. And 2 years later, I tripled my money. Thank you. From then on, With every stock I bought and sold, never ever, my family and even my uncle didn't say any word at all, even when I made losses. Because in the end, I ended up with profits. This was really a lesson to me. And of course, I took the money, I saved it, and when I was 19 years old, I went to university. I left my rural village, went to the big city and went to university, and I studied economics. Because I was always, and still I am, interested in the stock market and what is going on in the economy, because the stock market is nothing else than the picture of the economy. So first of all, educate yourself. Education is the utmost thing you can have. And it is the best what you can do for your children. Give them a good education, not money only, education is it. The better people are educated, the better their chances are that they are investing in a correct way, in a very good way, to the stock market. There is one more thing I want to tell you, and I want to give you some advice to it. I truly believe, after being 50 years dealing in the stock market, that equities, and what I learned now from Zafar, halal equities for you, is the best long-term store of wealth you can have and you can invest in. And it is as well the most secure. Some people say, well, come on, how this guy can say that stock market is secure. Yes, and I'm stressing that. The stock market and equities is the most secure investment you can make. But, and there is a but, in the long run, in the long term, not in the short one, the stock market could be very dangerous for day traders. It is not, of course, as secure for an investment of 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, a month, or even a year. But in the long run, 10 years, 20 years, it is the best investment you can do. And it is the least costly. The cost of investing is small. And don't believe when you are investing that you are investing today, tomorrow you'll be a millionaire, or you have doubled or tripled or quadrupled your money. No, do it in the long run. Invest in the long term. And then you will see a good investment is the best place for the money and for the wealth to store it. Looking back, and one of the countries to invest in is your country here. Because this country is one of the best prospects of all countries worldwide. And I'm giving now you a very, very, very long-term view. If you are going back 1,000 years, just imagine back 1,000 years, around about 50% of the world's GDP, and world's GDP means as well the world's money, was made in China and India. These two parts of the world made up of round about half of world's GDP. Round about 1820, 1850, England made round about 50% of world's GDP. And in the 1920s, 30s, up to 1950s, the US, they earned and produced round about 50% of world's GDP. With a population of round about 300 million, the US just right now account for 28% only anymore of world's GDP. They were surpassed by the EU, by the European Union, with round about 470 million population. Their part is now 31% of world's GDP. India, with a population of 1.1 billion people, is only producing less than 5% of world's GDP. But India and China, they have the highest growth rates. And these high growth rates will propel both those countries, India and China, and that's my true belief, within 50 years, to the top of the world again. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if in 50 or in 60 years' time, half of the world's GDP will again be produced by China and India. You have all the ingredients for that. You have a very, very good agricultural base. Your education is starting to grow. Now nearly 70% of Indians are literate. Of course, it depends from state to state, of course. But anyway, everywhere it is growing. We have a very, very stable democracy. I heard last year one American politician say that the US is the biggest democracy in the world. I raised my finger and said, sorry for that, but it is India, not US. And that it is a stable democracy. And Mr. Klein said it and expressed it as well. He said, you have a very and an excellent legal system. And I just want to add one more thing, what is very important for you, and that's why I truly believe that you have one big advantage over China. This is that nearly everybody of you is speaking English. This is today's world language. Even I'm speaking English to you, because if I speak German, you wouldn't understand a word. Come on, who here is able to speak German? Wow. 1 out of 1,000. Thank you very much. When you go into China, nobody or nearly nobody speaks English. You have to speak Mandarin. And when you speak the North Mandarin dialect in the southern parts in Hong Kong, nobody will understand you, or in Shanghai. And when you want to make business in China, you always need an interpreter, a translator. And you never can be sure what he is translating. So if I'm saying wrong words in English, it's my own mistake. So it is up to you to invest. And you have to invest. Not to put your money into mattresses and store it away. Invest it in equities in the stock market. Educate yourself and your children. Take good advice from Parsoli or from other people. Take good advice be critical. And then I truly believe then you earn a lot of money. And it's one advice I want to give you: don't waste your time. Ladies and gentlemen, start now. Thank you.